minutes to go in normal time. Liverpool 3-0. Corner taken quickly, Origi! Yeah! Yeah! Unbelievable! Divock Origi! Oh my word! Yes! This is extraordinary!
Hello and welcome to the Redscast podcast. It's me, Matty, and I'm joined by Paul, Jay and Dean. Smashed it in one. How are we all doing?
Not bad yourself?
Not bad.
I'd have been better if the Reds would have won last night, like, but
I'm sure we'll get into that. Jesus Christ.
look at that smile on his face now.
Go on, Jay, you can introduce him.
So this is Paul. Paul is one of the fellas who I work with, and unfortunately for us, he's a Man City fan, aren't you?
I am, boys, I am, yeah. And thanks for having me on tonight. I've been looking forward to coming on and speaking all things about Liverpool and Man City.
Yeah, so we'll start with you, Jay. Disappointing. We'll go back to the game yesterday. Disappointed?
Disappointed, pissed off. I just don't understand how you can go from the two really good performances against Spurs and against West Ham to lacking absolutely everything all over the park. And, you know, for my own fucking well-being, I like to try and look at the positives in things. I thought the keeper done all right. He kept us in at times. And Nat Phillips made me eat my own fucking words from the last time I was on here when I said he wasn't a good footballer, because I thought he'd done really well. But everything else was just absolutely poor all across. It was worrying to watch at times.
Dean, when Bobby Firmino plays crap, Liverpool play crap, is that a fair judgment?
Going forward, yeah, I agree with Jay. I thought at the back we were pretty solid, and I think this is symptomatic of our little run, to be honest, is that the problems aren't at the back. And we've gone out and bought two centre-halves in a transfer window, and granted, we've got two long-standing injuries, and obviously Matty's out for the rest of the season, but at the same time, for me, it was glaringly obvious Liverpool are crying out for a proper centre-forward. Like, I agree with what you're saying, Firmino, it's not when Firmino plays crap, it's when Firmino's marked out the game, and Firmino plays his game in front of the back four. Everything with Firmino is in front of the back four.
Yeah.
So when you have a team that just sits on the edge of their own 18-yard box, he's not going to get anywhere. Nothing's going to happen. So I think it's not so much that Firmino played crap. I just thought that Brighton just defended for their lives, and it was bound to happen, to be honest. I think there's a blueprint to beat Liverpool now.
Sam Allardyce got it, didn't he?
Yeah, and to be fair, it was a proper Allardyce performance, but now everyone's doing it, innit? I think there's teams we can play against and teams we can't. And I think anyone who wants to go toe-to-toe with Liverpool is going to get beaten, which is why I'm fairly confident about Sunday, to be honest. But when you look at the likes of Brighton, Burnley, to an extent, I thought West Ham would have done it, but he didn't. I don't know why he didn't. I thought Spurs would have done it, but I think Mourinho took us lightly. I think those type of teams that are happy to sit in are going to get results against Liverpool, and I can see it happening throughout the rest of the season. But I think the teams that go toe-to-toe with us, like Man City, I think they're in for a hard time.
It was a good result for you, wasn't it, Paul? You just went 7 points clear again.
Yeah, really good result. The performance was good as well. We got the early goal, which is massive for us at the moment, because we're just not letting teams create chances against us. We're just shutting them out straight away, which under Pep is quite the first time, really. Our defences, you'd always feel as though you could get at City. You'd always feel like you get 2 or 3 good chances at least in a game. You know, you've obviously seen the games between us over the years, and just there's games where you've scored 3 a couple of times, but we just squeeze the life out of the team. So we defend well as a team all over the pitch. We sprint back now with the same amount of effort and eagerness as we will do with a counter-attack, and I think you'll see that on Sunday, the times when you do look to break on us, everyone will rush back, and all it'll take is one player with rather than to keep going forward, one inside pass or a backward pass, and we've got our shape back again. And said we are very hard to break down. I think Diaz has made a massive improvement on what we had there. And I'm looking forward to Sunday's game. Just with what you were saying there about how you found it this season with teams hard to break down, with teams not doing that against you last season. Is this like a new thing, or
no?
Are you just struggling to break them down with players maybe not in form, and obviously we did injuries?
I think personally it was obviously last season we were finding a little bit easier to break down, but I think obviously we're a little bit slower as well this season. I think we've gone 2 or 3 years, well, since Klopp started, really playing to this intensity. And this is the season where we've had a 4-week pre-season on top of we haven't really changed much going forward. And I think the players are just knackered. I think that intensity is bound to catch up with you at some point. You can't play like that 4 seasons on the bounce, reach 90 plus points every season. At some point, you're going to get found out. And I think it's partly Liverpool's been found out now, and it's partly that we're unfit. Well, not unfit, but it's catching up with us. The intensity's caught up with us.
Yeah, I think it's like you just said, the demands that are being placed on you and us for the last, well, you look at your last 3 full seasons. You won the league last year. The year before, we went toe-to-toe with us for 6-7 months. It went right down to the wire. You also won the Champions League. And then the year before that, you got to the Champions League final. So it's been 2.5, 3 years of like being full tilt. And that's going to take its effect on anyone, isn't it, really? And I think the players are, your front three especially, I think Carragher did something on Monday Night Football a few weeks ago. And it does feel like your front three have been, they've drained everything they can out of them over the last 3 years, and it's maybe they just need a break. I think he obviously brought Jota in, and he was doing really well for you, and unfortunately for you, he got injured. I think it's a culmination of things, really, isn't it? Like you said, they've been taken to the limit the last 3 years, and eventually it is going to catch up on you.
Jay, if you look at, say, City last season, they had a poor season in terms of their standards. I know Liverpool were unbelievable. Would you say that this is now our poor season and we're going to rebuild on it like City have this year, next year?
I wouldn't even say a poor season. I just think it's a poor, what is it now, 7 games? Because when we beat Tottenham and we went top of the league, everyone was saying, yeah, Liverpool back to form again. Liverpool flying, going to win the league. And then now it's... Because I think at the time, Paul, you were having quite a little bit of a blip, weren't you?
Yeah, I think last season, it wouldn't have mattered how good we were last season, because what you were doing, it was like, 2.7, 2.8 points per game you were averaging. And we would have been at our very, very best to keep up with that. And I think once we went to Anfield, that was October, November, when you beat us. Was it 3-1? I can't even remember now. Last season, yeah. Yeah. And I think we end up being like 11 points behind around that. I'm not too sure. I should have checked. I think just psychologically, then it gets in the players' heads, and you think, well, a little bit further behind, and you could have kicked off earlier one weekend, and that could have then taken us to 14 points, and then just a little bit of doubt come into the players' mind. And I think that may well happen on Sunday if we were to get a positive result there. If we draw, or even win and extend the lead, I think then it might just subconsciously seep into the players that maybe the league may go. And they might then start focusing on the Champions League a little bit more, and then the gap could grow a little bit more. But I don't think it's... Obviously, you watch your games more than me. I probably watch you 4 or 5 times a season. But I don't think it's... I think the injuries are obviously having a massive toll. And you look at us from last season, we signed 3 players, Ake, Torres and Diaz. And Torres and Ake have been injured, had COVID, haven't started, many games. Diaz is the only real player in that team last night who wasn't there last season. But everyone else was there. Cancelo, he's like a new player. John Stones is like a new player, how he's playing. Bernardo's like a new player. I just think last season was a combination of things. You were fantastic. And we were going through a little bit of a dip. And it just happened. It happens to every team, I think, doesn't it, really? It's just how you react to that and how you come back from it.
It's been a bit of a mad season as well, hasn't it? The way that there's been 9-10 teams who've been top of the league. So it's
Well, Southampton were top and got beaten 9-0 this week, didn't they?
That's what I mean. So I know you are flying at the minute, and we are awful. It's awful to watch and stuff like that. But it can just flip. So if we win Sunday, it could send you on a little bit of a spiral and send us on a big run. Whereas if we get beat, then you have to look at it and say, for me, the league's gone and it's a chase for the top 4, and you've got to concentrate on the Champions League.
I think for me, that's the only thing that restores me faith a little bit, that we might just be able to pull it back, is that it's such a mad season. Anything can happen. City could go on a run in the next 5 games and lose the next 5. We could go on a run and win our next 5. City could lose their 2 games in hand, and then it's back. We're still at 7 points. We win on Sunday, we cut it to 4. So anything... I think with this season being so unpredictable, that's the only hope I've got that we can get anywhere near the league again, is that anything can happen.
Paul, would you say that if City was to get beat by Liverpool on Sunday, that it could maybe send you on a downward spiral, or do you reckon it won't affect you that much?
I don't think it'll affect us that much, to be honest. I think before last night's results, I'd have taken 0-0, because we thought then we'd have kept the 4 points difference. We'd have then been to Anfield, we've been to Old Trafford, we've been to Spurs, 3 grounds where we haven't done great the last few seasons. And that would have been then a case of basically focusing on the rest of the season. No 4 points is a massive difference. And we do have that game in hand against Everton in 10 days. I just think there's just something about City this season. We're not as dynamic going forward as maybe the 100-point season and the season we went toe to toe with you. We're a bit more efficient, a bit more of a team, a bit more of a unit. There's no look at our stats. Salah's leading goal scorer in the league. I think Sterling's our leading goal scorer in the Prem, and he's about 15th in the league. There's no one having a standout season in that sense where the numbers are ridiculous. It's more of a team. It's Gundogan, it's Bernardo. They've stepped up with De Bruyne being out, and then it's the defensive unit behind that. Cancelo's been unbelievable. So I just think there's something right at City at the moment. The way it was with you last season, you got the coach going into the games confident. I said, even if we do lose, I can then say we've got a tough good run of games coming up, but I think we're very strong. Strength and depth and important players are playing well, and still got De Bruyne and still got Aguero to come back, which is encouraging for us.
What do you think, Jay? Do you think the league's done first and foremost?
I think it's 90% done. I'll be very shocked that Liverpool win the league this year. I seen a tweet before. It was like Liverpool's top 7 most expensive signings, so like the likes of Van Dijk, Alisson, Fabinho, Keita, players like that, and they all had crosses next to them, bar one, and I can't remember who the one was, but it
was Salah, wasn't it? I saw that tweet, mate. Yeah. Top 7 signings, but just on a different point on that, they're your top 7 signings. You take Keita out, 6 of them have been unbelievable, really, haven't they? You look at like some clubs' big signings, and you maybe have like a success rate of 50-60%. That's the success rate of your signings there is unbelievable, really. The value for money you've had out of them.
My point, to be fair, is I'm thinking it's done, but then you could get 4 of them players back and Liverpool could go on a big run.
Well, our next lot of games are against big opposition, and Liverpool turn up against big opposition, don't we?
I think to be honest, it's not even the big opposition. I just think the teams that suit the way we play, which is, again, City. I agree with what Paul's saying. City do seem a lot more efficient this season, but they're still quite open. They can still be got at. I think they're not a team that are going to put 9 men behind the ball, and I think that's what you need to do to beat Liverpool. And I think even if you only have 5 or 6 behind the ball, Liverpool can beat you. So I think City, Leicester, they're teams that we can beat. Everton actually really worries me, to be honest, because Everton are a team that if they play with their heads and play the match and not the occasion and not the opposition, Everton will gladly put 9 men behind the ball at Anfield and try and hit us on the break, and they've got the pace to do it. Now, the only thing with Everton is that they don't play derbies unemotionally, and I think with that being the case, they'll come to Anfield and they'll just start snapping people and going for it. And especially with the way they are this season, they're so confident. That team is so confident. And I think they'll come to Anfield and do what Mourinho did and underestimate us and be overconfident. They'll come there thinking this is the season that they break that duck. And that's what's going to trip them up.
Would you agree with that, Jay?
As fucking much as it pains me to say it, they have looked alright this season, haven't they? They've made some good signings in that. James Rodriguez. Alan looks like a decent player. The downfall for them is the keeper.
But in the game yesterday for Everton, they had that Olsen, is it? They had him playing, and he played an absolute blinder. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, listen, a derby's a derby, and if your form goes out the window in the derby, and sure it's the same with City and United, but fucking me as being a soft ass when we won and they got beat, sent a little tweet out and it come back to bite me in the ass yesterday. Sent a tweet out.
You sent a silly tweet out about it.
Yeah.
That's not like you. That isn't like you.
Liverpool won and they said they never felt more like singing the blues. As soon as the final whistle went yesterday, three Evertonians who liked it straight away. Well, my mate Snapchat me this morning singing it in the shower, and I was like, oh, it's one of them that bites you on the arse, that one, isn't it?
One positive is, like Paul said, City's game in hand is Everton. Are you worried by them?
I don't know, because I watch quite a bit of Everton. My wife's an Everton fan, so I watched a lot of their games. Watched like most of their game against Leeds last night after the game finished. And I think the setup to play teams like you, us, it's better for them when they haven't got as much as the ball. Because you look at them, I think they run this season. They won the first 4 games, then they did nothing. Then they won 5 games and they did nothing again. They won against Leeds last night. And I think they're better when they play the 4 centre halves strung out against in front of the defence, in front of the area, and just let you have the ball and hope to try and get the ball quickly up to Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison. So I don't know. It's a strange one. I really don't know what to expect from that game. I'm not, as mad as it sounds, I'm not even looking at that game at the moment. Just thinking about your game, and then hopefully, get a positive result there. And then the way Spurs are playing, we can hopefully do them as well. I think if we can come out of the 2 games with 4 points against you and Spurs, then we're well on our way then of pulling away from especially you, and then just concentrating on Leicester and United for now. I think it's the first time maybe 3 years that I'll be this weekend maybe focusing on, well, obviously we're playing after this, I'd be focusing on United results more than yours at the moment. But as you spoke up before, you could beat us Sunday, the momentum could flip round, and then all bets are off then, isn't it? I think the bookies have made us 1-6 favourites to win, which is ridiculous, really. I don't know what odds they put you out to.
I think it's ridiculous that they're even, and like anyone even takes notice of the odds anymore for me, because like we said before, the amount of teams who've been top of the league, I'm sure Everton were fucking 4-1 or something at one point to win the league after 4 games, when they were all singing in the boozers like, we're going to win the league, and it's like, come on.
The worst thing is though, innit, when that City and Everton game, if Everton win, they go above us, and if City win, they just the lead. So it's a lose-lose really, innit?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm more looking over my shoulder than I'm looking up at City now, to be honest. Like, if going into that game, if City win, that for me that does us a favour. Like, I'm not even looking at City. The title's gone for me. I'm just going for top 4, and I'm looking over my shoulder with that game. So if City win, all the better. If Everton win, then we've got the derby a couple of days later, and that's massive pressure on the derby, innit? So,
Jay, Paul just said about looking at United results. Do you think United are title challengers this season?
Personally, I think they'll drop off towards the end of the season. They could shock me. I think they've been doing well. I was very surprised the way they played at Anfield when they came, and they just, for me, they didn't look like a threat. I know they had the two biggest chances in the game, but they didn't look as if like they were going all out to win. It was like they came for the point.
Yeah.
And in my head, I think on Sunday it wouldn't shock me if Pep sets them up to come for a point, or look to catch us out on the counter, but not be all out gung ho. It wouldn't shock me for the way that we are at the minute. We are quite vulnerable against teams who have that low defensive block. We just can't seem to break them down. I think at one point when I was watching the game yesterday, there was 9 outfield players in who did we play? Brighton. In Brighton's box. I think there was 10 players, including the goalkeeper, and then they get the ball, they hoof it up to the striker who tries to get it down and to hold it up, and they just push right up to the halfway, try and get as close to the halfway line as they can. But it just seems a fucking familiar thing with Liverpool, that they can't break it down, and that move of going from Robertson to whoever the centre half pairing is at the time, out to Trent and then back, and doing that all the time, and then pumping balls into the box when you've got 6'7" defenders who were just clearly going to win it.
Yeah.
For me, the standout one yesterday was a cross got put into the box, and before it even left Trent's boot, the keeper was on his way. And before Trent had even crossed it, the keeper in his head had said, "I'm having that. That's my ball."
Can you see City setting up against Liverpool, Paul, with a low defensive block, or do you think you'll just come at us?
Before last night's game, I said to you before, I'd have taken 0-0. I think maybe Pep might have done that, because the games this season between the top 2-3 teams, obviously there's a draw 1-1 at the Etihad, and after about 70 minutes, felt like both teams had settled for the point that night. And then again, when we went to Old Trafford and drew 0-0, again, it was a tight, cagey game where both teams probably seemed to be not to lose the game. And then, like Jay just said at Anfield of the week when United came to you, it was a tight, cagey game. To win in a patch where the top teams the last few years have gone to win it through the team's ground, it seems this season the teams are being more or less settling not to lose. So I said before last night's game, I think we'd have taken a 0-0 and maybe Laporte might have started at left back. But I'm thinking now, after him seeing that last night, Pep, I think he's just going to want to dominate the ball and try and weather that first 20 minutes from you if we can. And I think he'll go with Cancelo right back and probably Zinchenko left back. And they're two attacking defensive players, really. I think Walker and Laporte will miss out. But I think he's just going to go to look and play our game. If it was a Champions League quarter-final, first leg at Anfield, I think he'd go defensive, a bit more defensive. With Laporte, maybe, or Ake if he was fit. But no, I think he's going to look to go and try and dominate the game and play as we have been the last few weeks. Be on the front foot. I said just dominate possession. I think he's going to try and have Thiago doing doggies. I think he's going to struggle because he doesn't really seem keen on the defensive side of the game. I think Gundogan and Bernardo are going to be all over him, swarming around him, making runs off him, and he won't like it. And I'm quietly confident, but when I'm quietly confident going to Anfield, we normally get slapped. So it's a tough one. I probably would still take 0-0 now. And focused on United.
What about you, Dean? Do you think if City set up like what Paul's saying against us, do you think they've got a chance? Because I think if they come at us, they're going to get battered.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if Pep does do what Paul says he thinks he'll do, I think that's really naive. Because I think if they come there and they play two attacking fullbacks, I think Mane will start. So I don't think we'll see Shaqiri on Sunday. I think Mane will start. And I think if that's the case and he plays two attacking fullbacks, then they're just there for the taking. Where I do agree with Paul, to be honest, is if the midfield turn up and put a shift in with Liverpool, that's where we've usually won the game, I thought. I thought we not dominated midfield, but we've sort of nullified them somehow. Yeah. If you think about it, De Bruyne has never had a good game against Liverpool, really. Yeah. Apart from that, was it the 4-0 one last season when we'd already won the league? He hasn't really had a good game.
Friendly, that wasn't it? Really?
Exactly.
Wasn't really, yeah.
We were all still pissed. So I think, apart from that, he hasn't really ran games the way he does against everyone else. And I think that's where the game's going to be won for me. If we can turn up and put a shift in midfield and play like we usually play, then we'll beat City. And I think if they play Cancelo and he plays Zinchenko a fullback, especially Zinchenko, if they play those two a fullback, then they're there for the taking. If Pep does what Paul says he'd do in a Champions League game and maybe play Laporte a fullback, even then I don't think it might be enough, because I think to beat Liverpool you've really got to be very, very defensive. So the way Brighton were last night and the way Burnley were and the way West Brom were and Newcastle were, you've really got to sit back, and I don't think City are capable of it, first of all. Second of all, I don't think Pep would want to do that. Everyone slated Ollie a few weeks ago. I thought Ollie got spot on when he comes on field. He did exactly what he should do, which was come and sit in. And that's, I think that the pressure he got was what convinced Mourinho to come at us a little bit, and they got turned over. So I think if City comes on field and try and play us off the park, then they're going to be in for a hard time, I think.
What about you, Jay? Do you think it's essential to start Davies and Kabak against City so we can put Fabinho in the 6 and dominate the midfield? Because that's the one area of the pitch I am worried about, like what Paul said. If we play Henderson or Fabinho at the back, I think Thiago's clueless. Like I said on the pod the other week, he doesn't know whether to defend, doesn't know whether to attack. I think he needs Henderson to help him.
Listen, he's signed them. He's signed them for a reason, so he's obviously confident in what he can do. So why not play them? It's no bigger game than Man City at home.
Yeah.
If you want to win a league title, obviously there's games like Old Trafford and the Derby and stuff like that. But in terms of what you want to do and where you want to be at the end of the season, there's two games for me that determine it: City away and City at home.
Is there any chance you would start Phillips? I know your opinion on Phillips, by the way.
I know, and listen, he proved me wrong, didn't he? But
yeah.
if you're playing well and you're confident, then yeah, I don't. We are Nat Phillips, aren't we? Not the other one.
Yeah, Nat Phillips. Not Nat Phillips, plays for West Brom.
No, his name's Davis, isn't it? Ben Davis. Sorry,
Yeah.
I thought his name was Ben Phillips. If he's confident, then yeah, play him. But you've obviously went after that Kabak. Apparently, they've been going after him for ages. So they've went after him for a reason. So they're confident in what he can do. So then don't shit out and say, "Oh no, we're not going to play him against City. It's too soon."
See, I had this conversation with one of my mates in our group chat yesterday, and we had it turned into a row, to be honest. He was very much in the camp of Phillips, of playing Phillips, because Phillips is, and I can sort of see his point, to be fair. Phillips has been there a while. He knows that he's got a run of games under his belt. He knows the style of play, But then my point was that Kabak isn't some bum that we've just bought from Farmers FC in Italy or whatever. He's played for Schalke in the Bundesliga against the likes of Lewandowski and Haaland and Sancho on a consistent basis for 2 years now. 2 years. That's not 6 months at good form. That's a consistent level of high performance. So why wouldn't you start this lad? As you said, he's been a long-term target. Klopp obviously likes him. Why not throw him in against City? I'd start Kabak and Fabinho at centre-half, me on Sunday, and play Henderson in front of the back four.
I think it's hard to even try and guess. I know, who's going to play last before the Tottenham game. You asked us to go to put a starting 11 together. I genuinely couldn't do it right now. Honestly, I couldn't do it right now because I've got no idea with what he's going to go with. I was shocked that Shaqiri played yesterday.
Yeah.
To be fair, but then I was fucking made up. Origi never played,
But he's still clean, man. That's the issue. When he comes on, he's crap.
I wish you could put a clip on this podcast and on the YouTube thing and show it. It's where Robertson cuts inside onto his right foot, looks like he's about to have a shot. Listen, could have flew into the fucking top corner, could have flew into row fucking 27 of the Kop, but he took it off him, takes it off him, and you can see it on the replay. Robertson must be thinking, "What the fuck are you doing?" And then he does something stupid with his feet and just smashes it towards the corner flag, and you can see Trent fucking flipping on the replay.
Well, I seen something on Twitter yesterday that Divock Origi is the human version of the full-time whistle. When he comes on, the game's done. Would you agree with that, Dean?
Absolutely, yeah. I sort of feel sorry for him because I feel like he's brought on and Klopp tells him to do what Firmino does. And that's not his game. His game is, he's a one-touch striker for me, for Origi. And we seen it a couple of years ago when, I'd say he was at his peak at Liverpool, to be honest. It was Klopp's first season, where he was happy sitting on the shoulder and getting in behind, and he had the pace to beat defenders. Whereas now, for some reason, playing in front of the back four, trying to thread balls through, as Jay said, taking it off players' toes with clean through on goal and chipping it out wide. Like, what are you doing? That's not what a strike. It's not what you do, and it's certainly not what a striker does. I feel like everything Origi does is the opposite of what a centre forward should do. Like, a centre forward should bully defenders. Origi is easily bullied. Centre forward should have a decent touch. He's got a touch like a fucking bouncy castle. And then a centre forward should be able to score. Can't remember the last time he scored a goal. Honestly, I don't remember the last time Divock Origi. I think it might have been. No, it was he scored at Norwich, didn't he? The first home game last season. Yeah, which was after Madrid. But then I can't remember after that what the fuck he's done since. He's done nothing. And I don't understand now. And I think it's pure sentimental that he's still at the club, because I think we could still get a decent fee for him, to be honest.
I don't get the move of loaning Minamino out.
I was just going to ask you that.
That baffled me. Again, I said it last time. I don't work at the club. I'm not there at training, and I'm like.
Do you think it's to do with confidence though? Because Ralph Hasenhüttl's from the Red Bull system. That's where Southampton got him from. So do you think they've gone to? We play similar to that. They play gegenpressing and stuff. We play very, very similar to how Red Bull play. Do you think he's went there to play in that system, get confidence behind things, and then come back a better player? Because point blank said he's not having an option to buy. We're bringing him back.
But I don't get it.
I mean, I don't get it myself.
I don't understand it. Like, why send them to play somewhere else that plays like us? Why not just play him?
Yeah.
Give him a chance. You're bringing someone on who comes on, and for me, he's just lazy. It's like it takes 3 or 4 seconds for him to realise, for Origi to realise where the ball is on the pitch. For me, he goes and stands, comes on, so fucking centre forward, goes and stands left mid or left of a front three and just waits for the fucking ball to feet. And then if it's played not to his feet,
he stays
stands there. oh fuck, there's the ball, and then he does some weird skip to start his run. Even that pisses me off about him. Like, he's done some brilliant things. The goal against Everton, the goal against Barcelona, and the goal in Madrid. So, brilliant.
That's three things, though, Jay, in like, what, 7 years?
He's not good enough.
No.
Let's just be honest. Rodgers, he came in under Rodgers and got loaned out to Lille or whoever it was.
Yeah, Lille.
And he got voted by like the French fans the worst signing of the season. How fucking bad have you got to be to go from the Premier League to the French League and be voted the worst signing of the season?
Fuck me.
It's a fucking Farmers League.
Lad, that is so grim. What you've just painted, that picture you've just painted for me there. Like, I think he'd go back there now and still get worst player of the season, to be honest.
Like, he wouldn't start for my 21s. I texted one of my strikers last night. I was just texting him over something, and we ended up talking about Liverpool. And I'm fully fucking confident he's better than him. Genuinely, he wouldn't play for my 21s.
I think the reason Origi stayed is we were trying to include him in that Botman deal. The Sven Botman from Lille, the centre-back, the Dutch one. There was rumours we were trying to include him in that deal. So that's probably why he didn't get sold, because that was down to the wire if we couldn't get Kabak.
I feel like that's the difference between us and City, though. Don't you? Do you agree, Paul?
What? Strength and depth?
Yeah, like the depth of us, and we're hanging on to shite.
I know. Thing is, though, you do seem to get a lot of money for the shite that you get rid of.
We got 29 million for Solanke.
But even that's nothing to me, though. Like, I'm not getting 29 million in my pocket, so it doesn't fucking bother me. Like, it's when we sign Van Dijk and you get like Blues and United fans. I can't believe you paid 75 million. I'm not asked.
Yeah,
I don't care.
One thing where City's difference was, though, I don't know if you agree, Paul, is you waste money because you've got so much money. You look at Ake, 50 mil.
We can afford to take that risk, or we can afford to sign a player who isn't going to be first choice, and if it works out, great. If it doesn't, we'll probably lose maybe 10, 15 mil. Jane mentioned that tweet before of your 7 most expensive signings. Obviously, 6 were unavailable last night. Take Kite out, you've had some great success there with those signings. It's like you said, it's when you scratch below the surface, after under your top 14, 15 players where you struggle. Whereas at the moment we seem to have probably 2 players for every position who can come in, and it's almost seamless. The drop off in level and quality, it's not that big. Whereas if Sen comes out the team when he's on form, whoever comes in, it's a big drop off. It is that Nico Williams or whoever, or Robertson at left back, or you're saying if Mane's out and you're bringing in Origi as his replacement, it's a big drop down. I think that's where it's definitely kept up the season with your injuries to your key men, and your options coming in are just not at that level that you require.
I think there's a difference. Again, I'm not there, so I don't know. But if you're going out and you're spending 60 million on a player, and you're spending 60 million on a player knowing that he's going on the bench, imagine the mentality of them 25, 26 players, that full squad, of thinking, fuck, like, I'm in for a fucking hard job of getting in this 11. Never getting in the, what is it now? 9 subs.
Oh yeah, there's 9 subs.
20.
Yeah, the squad's 25.
Your squad of 20. You're thinking, I've got to put a fucking shift in here. You look at Liverpool and there was a kid last night, Jake Kane.
I'd rather have him on than Origi, though.
I've never seen him play, to be fair.
Better than Origi.
But he's never ever thinking he's going to be on the bench for Liverpool, and then because of the lack of depth that we've got, he's going on the bench. Do you get my point?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's like Everton are playing 2 goalkeepers on the bench.
Yeah, but it's the mentality of, I'm going to have to fucking pull my finger out if Pep's going to put me on the bench here. And then you've got Origi thinking, I'm on the bench. I know I'm on the bench, and I'm most likely going to come on.
I think that's the problem with Liverpool. Is over the past few years, we've relied so much on player fitness, and we've got probably, we must have the best sports science departments in the country.
Oh, to get drugged apparently to fucking according to Evertonians.
I've heard, yeah. But we must have the best sports science and medical departments in the country, because since this season we haven't had a major injury.
But this physio who was there left, and now we've went back to Chris Morgan. And last year Arsenal had how many injuries? he's come back.
I think that could be purely coincidence, though, Matty, to be fair, because again, look, it's a freak season. We're talking about a season where we've come in on the back of a 4-week pre-season, and I don't think people realise how big that is to have that 4 weeks, and essentially it's 2 weeks because you'd have 2 weeks off. They had 2 weeks off and then started playing friendlies. So I think that people don't realise how big of an issue that is. That's all your prep time, tactics time, probably gone, really, and all mostly spent on fitness, and then you're straight into competitive action.
To be fair, though, Dean, I don't think they had 3 months. They had 3 months off.
But all they were doing in that 3 months was rolling around on balls at home on Zoom. So it's not exactly that's not going to help either.
But it wasn't. You had the 3 months off, and then you got told, right, you're playing on Saturday. It was you had 3 months off, and then they had what? 3-4 weeks to get back into.
But they couldn't pre-season. They weren't like pre-season training. It was
non-competitive training. And also, Jay, you're saying that they've had 3 months off. It wasn't like a normal season where you finish and then you can just go and switch off for 4 weeks and go on the beach or do whatever. You look at some of these lads. For example, for you, Keita. I don't know nothing about him, but these are young lads, 25, 26, and his family are, wherever in the world, and he's living, in his house on his own. They're not getting a break at all, are they? It's not like a psychological break. That's why I just think we mentioned before, it's a very strange season. It's all about your short pre-season there. We never actually got a pre-season. We finished in Portugal in the Champions League. I think they literally had like a few days holiday, and they were back in. They did very little, and I think it's definitely catching up with the injuries. You saw at the start of the season, the muscular injuries that a lot of teams were getting, and there was remember the big debate about the 5 subs, and that's quieting down again now. So it's very strange season, very strange, and people are giving Nuno stick at Wolves. He's the same. They were in Germany in Europa League. They never got a break, but they haven't got the strength and depth and the resources that City and United have that can make the changes, and that's why Wolves are really struggling. He's doing brilliant for considering the hand he's been dealt. The amount of games they played last season, with going that far in the Europa League and then coming back in with no break at all. It's a strange season. I've seen some people say it's going to have an asterisk next to it, really, with the fact that there's been no fans, no pre-season. Some teams have had fans. You even look at the Champions League next round. They're saying that you and us won't be playing in Germany. We're playing in a neutral venue because the German government aren't letting anyone in at all. Won't be letting us in because we're a banned country. So,
or we get a 3-0 win.
Yeah, if they something like because if the German government don't let us in, then they've got Leipzig, and Uvu's got Mönchengladbach. I've got to find a neutral venue, and if they can't find a neutral venue, we'll be given a 3-0 win.
But it's only for the first leg, and it's all.
Leipzig have got to come to Liverpool and win 4-0.
And no one I look lately. They'll just sit back and ping us 4-0.
Yeah. So. Well, speaking about the players in every position, Liverpool actually aren't as weak as people think. I think Tsimikas probably would have played more games this season if we had Van Dijk and Gomez playing. He's not going to take Robbo out when the back line's already messed up. So I think he'd have a bit more. He would have played Jesty, for example. Then if we get Kabak in now, we've got Kabak and Matip backing up for Gomez and Van Dijk. Our weakest position's right back. We've got loads of midfielders. We've got Firmino, Mane, Salah, Jota. Probably bring someone else in the summer. So we have strength and depth, but people just don't seem to realise that. Would you say that, Dean?
I agree to an extent. I agree in certain positions we've got strength and depth. Definitely Tsimikas probably should be playing. I think he should have a few more games, even the lesser games. Right back definitely is an issue. Obviously, you're looking at Nico Williams, who can go there if Trent's ever injured. I don't think he'd thrown Williams in, to be honest. If Trent got injured, I think it'd be Milner who'd probably go there. In midfield, I feel like it's a muchness, really. Apart from Thiago, everyone else does the same thing. Wijnaldum, Milner, Fabinho, Anderson, they all sort of are very alike.
When he's fit, Kaiser is decent though, isn't he?
He is, but he basically just does the doggies. He just does what they do, really. He can do what they do, or he can do what Thiago does to a much lesser ability, to be honest. Going forward, we did have Minamino on one side. Don't ask what happened there. Shaqiri on the other side. I still like Shaqiri. I think he's been a little bit ineffective lately, but he'll probably go in the summer because he's just not getting games. And then going forward, we've got the ghost that is Origi and Firmino. So I think we have got depth. I just think it's all very samey. There's no alternative. No one's different. Do you know what I mean? We're bringing in Origi to do and asking him to do the same job Firmino does. This isn't his game. We're bringing off Wijnaldum and bringing Milner on. We're bringing off Thiago and we're putting Curtis Jones or Oxlade-Chamberlain on. We're bringing off Gomez and we're putting Matip on, and they're all very much the same. So while I agree we've probably got depth, I just don't think we've got any difference. There's no alternatives. There's nothing that can change the way we play.
I'm going to ask you something, Jay. Why are you surprised we didn't sell Nico Williams when Southampton bid for him on deadline day?
No.
Would you keep him, or would you let him go in the summer?
I like him. I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, and he's...
Do you think he's good enough to play for Liverpool in the long... If Trent had an injury like Van Dijk, would you feel comfortable in a season with Nico Williams?
At the minute, no. But he's what, 19?
Yeah.
Around that age. He's a kid. You're not telling me that Steven Gerrard was in full potential at 19, 20. He was fucking very good.
Yeah.
But wasn't the Gerrard that we all know, and I'm sure there's players at City.
But that's the difference with City, though. If Pep wants someone in a position, he'll go and spend 30, 40 mil and get someone better. He's not... I know the kids and they need a chance, but if you want a challenge, you need to go and spend the money.
Liverpool aren't going to do that because that's not the business model that Liverpool have got. Liverpool haven't got the money to do that.
Haven't they?
I genuinely don't believe they have. For the simple fact is, they spent loads of money on the stand. If you remember around that time, there wasn't loads of big money signings. I think the big money signing at the time was Wijnaldum and Mane, 30 million.
Do you think that's why they're cutting back now then? Because Danny Rowe's getting expanded?
I think they're cutting back like a lot of clubs because there's a worldwide pandemic and that's affected everyone, and they haven't had fans in. They've had fans in for 2 games in what is it now? Nearly 12 months?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
So it's like, it doesn't shock me that Liverpool aren't spending loads of money. If you look at that Kabak deal, it's paying 1.5 million or something.
Oh, he spent 2 million for the two of them.
Yeah.
Did City bring anyone in January, Paul?
No, we didn't. Just the 3 in the summer. I don't think Pep particularly likes the January transfer window. I think he's only ever bought in Laporte in the 4. What is this? His 5th year. His 5th year as manager. I think that's the only January transfer signing he's made. I might be wrong there, but yeah, we don't seem to do our business in January, mainly just in the summer.
Do you think it's got something to do with it, though, Paul? I know you're saying Pep doesn't like it, but with all the other teams, it wasn't a very busy January market for me. There wasn't a standout thing.
No one's got any money, have they? Well, majority of teams haven't got the money to spend. You look at Burnley; they've just been taken over. Normally, when a takeover comes, they spend some money when they get the opportunity. But there's no money about. Look at Barcelona; they stayed there in as well, and Real Madrid, they're struggling as well financially. I think that's why it could be a big summer transfer window for both our teams, because there's top players who might be available, and some of our bigger transfer rivals aren't really in a position to compete. So I think that's why we haven't. I don't think we did any business then, because we mainly wait for the summer.
But yeah, going back to what I've said there, I don't think that even in the summer, I don't think there'll be many big name signings going in.
But the difference with the summer is if fans are back in next season, you can take loans out to pay the following year when you've got money back from ticket sales and stuff.
You can't bargain for that, can you?
No.
It's all up in the air. No one knows when fans are going to be back and how many are going to be allowed back in. Probably going to be a long time before we have full capacities back in.
I don't think it'll be this season.
I don't think it'll be this season at all. And I think half of next season myself.
I think you'd be very lucky to see any clubs with the 2,000 fans back in. And it goes right through the football pyramid. You look at the National League, you've probably seen it, Paul. The National League at the minute, surveying the clubs on whether they want to carry on, because they've got no fans in, so they can't physically afford to carry on. And
they're not like, obviously, the Premier League teams, the top teams with the TV deals, are they? They're just...
it's with the
money.
Seats
is crucial for them.
The money that they bring in through tickets and through the shop and stuff like that, that pays for the lecky to turn the floodlights on for the Tuesday night game. So they're being surveyed on whether they want to carry the season on. If they don't get, another fuck up by the governments. They were promised grants, but the governments have turned around and said no, it's a loan. So they've said no, well, we don't want it. But so it's a big kerfuffle over that. But
did they not get a rescue package off the Premier League?
I think that's down to Premier League clubs to negotiate between them. I haven't heard anything.
I don't think it went down to National League. I think that was like League 1, League 2. Yeah. Could be miles off, but that just shows you the impact that this is having. National League clubs, some of them, you look at, like, some of them have got a bit of money for that level, and they're the main clubs in saying we can't financially sustain a match day without football fans. So, you know, but going back to your original point, I don't think there'll be many big transfers in the summer. That's just my opinion for what's going on. I don't think Liverpool's owners are the type to take loans out on the basis of potentially having half a ground full of fans for the season. For me, the next big money Liverpool signing comes when they've had fans in for a year.
What about you, Dina? Does it do your head in with our owners that they say they've got no money, but then they'll give, say, a player in Red Sox like an £80 million contract?
No, because it's I think they're trying to run it self-sufficiently, and I can buy into that. I'm happy for it to be run self-sufficiently. I think since they come, it's a good thing that they keep the two entities completely separate. We shouldn't be living off Red Sox, and they shouldn't be living off us.
It's very similar to United, isn't it, the Buccaneers? They actually take money out of United to pay for
I think United, the Glazers bought United a lot on leverage buyout though, the way we were bought by Hicks and Gillette. So I think that's not a sustainable business model for either club. Yeah. And I think I'm glad that we don't do that. I don't think it's good for anyone. And I think, God forbid, one day Fenway do ever pull out, then what are we left with if that's the case? Where does that leave us? Yeah. So I think it's a good thing that we're self-sufficient. I think if Fenway walked away tomorrow, we'd be fine. We've got our own sponsorship deals. We've got our own commercial deals around the ground. We've got everything that belongs to Liverpool and is run separately for Liverpool. No one has to buy Fenway Sports Group. Someone has to buy Liverpool Football Club. So I'm perfectly happy with the way Fenway run the club, to be honest. And let's face it, let's have a little bit of gratitude. Like, we were in 10 minutes from administration when they bought us. With regards to the summer, I know that wasn't your question, but I'm going to answer it anyway. With regards to the summer, I think it's a shame if we don't start making signs, because I think we need to start phasing some players out. So I think we do need... This should be a big summer for us. It's not going to be. I agree with Jay for the reasons why. But in a normal summer, it will be a big summer for us because we need to start making some big replacements.
I agree with Paul. And I think we'll go big this summer. Like, we've got the Nike deal. And I think players like Minamino would are helping a lot of money in the Asian market. I think we'll bring the 20%. Do we go at the end of the season, or do we go throughout the season? But we're getting 20% of everything that Nike sell. I think Liverpool will go and plough that money into the transfer market myself. Whether that be on someone like Haaland or someone like Mbappe or someone stupid like that, I think we need to, because while we're now ultimately at the... Fair to say this is the biggest Liverpool being globally since I can remember.
We all went through it, didn't we? When was it, 2010? Something like that.
Yeah. When,
as Dean said, we were 10 minutes away. So no one ever wants to go through that, and I'm sure you've been through it as well, Paul, with City, where there's been times where you've thought, we're on our way out here, you know, and it is. But as Dean said, the way they run us, it's their business. They can run it however they want, as long as the team's successful. And at the minute, the team is successful. As Dean said, 10 minutes away from going into administration. Yeah, there's been fuck-ups along the way, but European champions, Premier League winners, world champions, and and you still see the fucking tits on Twitter.
That's what I was going to ask you. That trend in today's FSG out and Klopp out.
Oh my god!
I can't take FSG. I never knew Klopp out was even a thing.
Yeah,
but I can't take the FSG out brigade. I just think the points are just irrelevant and useless.
Is it fair to say everyone who's saying FSG out didn't support Liverpool 10 years ago?
I know. I think everyone who's saying FSG out didn't support Liverpool before they won the Champions League in 2019 or before they got to Kiev. No scouse Liverpool fan, and I'm no Liverpool fan who's been there for 10 years is going to say FSG out. The fucking state we were in under them two pair.
That wasn't like 300 million debt, something stupid like that.
They got no debt. And they tried to recoup the money. Yeah. They tried to recoup the money when he sold us, and it was all bought on loans.
He's come out recently, Hicks, and saying how he got had off when he's
because he thought we were worth £1 billion. He wanted £1 billion for Liverpool.
We are now.
Yeah, we are now.
But not then.
At the time, we had £1 billion worth of debt just in drawings. He just had posters on his wall of a ground that was never going to be built. So,
what do you think looking into Liverpool, Paul? I know your owners have got an ever-ending bank account, but would you like your club to be self-sustained like Liverpool?
Well, I think it's a bit of a myth about Man City with the the never-ending money for the owners. The owners haven't put any money into the club now for, I think it's like 4 or 5 years. And you talk about self-sufficient. City are, it just seems to be like a stick to beat us with. Yeah, we won the lottery. We got the best owners we could have ever asked for in 2008. The money they put into the club. They've sold a stake in the club about when David Cameron was in charge, because he came round and looked at the new training grounds to a Chinese, part of the Chinese government. And they actually bought, I think it was like 12% of the club, for more than what the people, the family that bought our club for. So they sold a smaller stake for more money than they put it in. Then, before probably November 2019, an American company called Silver Lake then put £500 million into the club to buy a small stake into the club as well. Again, the club is just, I think we won an award the start of the year, the fastest growing sports team club in the world. That included everyone in the Premier League, all through the football teams, the NBA team, the NFL. The club from when it was in 2008 to now 2021, there's no club in the world that's grown as quickly as us.
How is City self-sustaining? And is it through the money that's getting bought in, like from them two people you've just mentioned, or is?
No, it's like yourself. Sponsorship deals. We like Man United. I remember a few years ago, Man United were constantly putting on a new tyre partner in Asia, and the latest betting company in Africa. City now, like yourselves, commercially, we're obviously not as big a fan base throughout the world, but the sponsorship deals that we're getting, just making massive money off the pitch now. I don't know if you know too much about the other clubs that are part of the City Football Group, CFG. We've got a team in New York, Australia. We've got quite a few in South America, and it's basically just a position of strength. They're just getting stronger and stronger. And we'll spend big again in the summer. You really will. I know we were saying about teams struggling for money, but City off the pitch, they're flying, absolutely flying financially. I think we'll be in the mix for Messi. I think he's leaving Barcelona in the summer. I think it'll be between us and PSG, and I think we'll then. I think the talk of last summer when we were after him, and it was saying we're potentially then going to get stay with us for the 2 years, then go and play in America for New York City, and then become like an ambassador for the City Football Group. That was the way they were looking at doing that. I think we'll be in for Mbappe as well. And people say, "Oh, City unlimited funds." We're wealthy, but it's not unlimited. We know our limit. We wouldn't pay the 85 million for Harry Maguire last season. We needed a centre half.
Well, you wouldn't even pay money for when you were in for Van Dijk, weren't you? You just wouldn't pay 75 for him.
I know, and look, the value for money that would have proven. I think we missed a step really there, not getting Van Dijk, but I think he at that stage he had his heart set on joining you, and Laporte wasn't a bad alternative, to be honest. I
think I've seen something of where Pep says, though, to be fair to what you're saying, I've seen something where Pep says we haven't got the money to be spending. And then I think that was last summer, and where he was getting questioned, and they were saying, why you're buying this player, you're buying that player, and he said in front of the media, we haven't got the money to do it. And everyone's like, oh, fuck off.
Yeah, well, last summer, we bought in Ake for 45 mil. Torres was 25, I think. And then Diaz was 60-something. With then Otamendi going the other way. We also, people forget, we sold Sane. Sane went for 70-odd mil. So that's a lot of last summer's outlay covered there. There's a lad who's just been sold from Celtic to Leverkusen, Frimpong, who we sold to Celtic for buttons, but then had a 20% sell-on clause. So we've just made 3.5 million there. We've got a big clause waiting on Sancho ready to go. So our academy's doing what you've done the last few years with Brewster being sold for good money, what United have done for years and years, selling the likes of Welbeck, Cleverley. All that money adds up. When I said that we ran so well off the pitch, I can't complain about one thing that our owners have done since the time they've taken over. If I was to research it and look properly, there'd be a couple of things maybe, but top of my head, I think we've been so lucky with these owners, and they get so much stick, and I think it's just, I said, it's an easy thing to beat us with unlimited money and your ground's always empty. I think it's just stereotypical. Now that's the thing to say, and it's, for me, it's water off a duck's back. I don't care.
Would you really take Messi though, given the wages he's on? I know you don't make money on shirt sales, but wouldn't you rather it with like financial fair play and stuff? I know it's been relaxed because of COVID, but would you rather spend that money on 2 players rather than just pay Messi? Like,
well, I think Messi's going to be. I know obviously his wages are unbelievable, but in the summer it looks like he's available on a free, and then his wages will be huge. They'll be massive, but we've got like there's accountants at the club who are just clever people who will get the contract, and then it'll be passed on to New York and elsewhere throughout, I said, the City Football Group. And if Messi comes in, then everything changes in sponsorship wise. You know, you're banging, and you want anything to do with Messi, then the companies are going to have to pay, and they will pay. He's the greatest footballer of all time. He could come towards next season, and you know, he won't be the Messi that we know, but just to say that he's played for your team, played for your club, and to go and watch him. I've never had the play. I'm guessing you boys probably might have watched him. You play Barcelona in the Champions League recently. You might have, been able to watch him live at Anfield. I've never been to Barcelona to watch him play. I didn't go to the games where we played them in the Champions League at home, and to see him play at the Etihad and in the Premier League, it'd just be incredible. Again, look where we were in 2008. We were just on no one's radar, and we've grown that big. And Messi would grow us even more. We just become.
I think that deal's been in the works on it since Pep's come in.
Jay, his first season, Pep spoke to him again, and it was Messi's people who approached Pep. Wasn't happy at Barcelona for whatever reason, and again, it looked like he was going to come, and basically it was a case we had to force him out. And I think we've got obviously Pep, Chiqui Stein, who's got linked to Barcelona, and Soriano. He was also the former chief exec there, and they didn't want to cause a war in Barcelona. They didn't want to. Make it look like we were dragging Messi out. We were saying, if you want to come, you've got to come out publicly and say you want to go, like he did last summer at first. And I do think it'll be between us and PSG. And I think we'll get him. I'm quietly confident we will get him. And it'll just be, will it make us a better team? It'll definitely add something to us. But just to see him in the Premier League, just be unbelievable. It really would.
Speaking then of good teams, you just want to go on to this. Is Paul aware of this? Have you sent it to him?
Paul knows, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll start with you, Dean. Who is your greatest side of all time?
I'm vehemently in the camp of the Barcelona side from 2008 to 2011. I think that side revolutionised football. Like, even now, everyone still talks about tiki-taka, or tippy-tappy, as they call it on Match of the Day. Everyone still talks about tiki-taka, and every team's trying to emulate tiki-taka. And I think it all started with this side. Now, we had an interesting discussion on Twitter, didn't we, James? Yeah. About this, because you asked why the Mourinho side doesn't get the same praise that this does, and I think it's because Mourinho spent so much money on that side. And obviously, I think there's the Mourinho factor he's just disliked. Whereas with Pep, especially before he came to City, I don't know about now, but especially before he went to City, he was loved the world over, wasn't he? Let's face it. And I think the story of that Barcelona side is so romantic, of having the team, the returning hero come back, coach the B side for the year, take on the first team that's starting to flounder and needs a little bit of a refreshed impetus. First season, wins the Champions League, wins the La Liga, brings back another returning, well, he wasn't a returning hero at the time, he is now, I suppose, Gerard Piqué for $3.5 million, turns him into a world-class centre-half. Again, win the Champions, the season after, win La Liga, get to the semi-finals of the Champions League. Alright, beaten by an Inter side that are dogged, shall we say, under Mourinho. But then the year later, they just absolutely ironed out everyone that came up against them. And I think that's the point with this Barcelona side, is no one went to the new camp, or Barcelona didn't visit anyone who felt like they had a chance when they come up against Barcelona. If you look at the spine of that side, Victor Valdez, Carles Puyol, Gerard Piqué, Sergio Busquets, Xavi, Iniesta, Messi, all homegrown talents. I think that adds to the romanticism about it. And I think when you look at what they've achieved there and what they've gone on to achieve, and all that on the back of 7 homegrown players and a homegrown manager, for me, that side is is the greatest club side, certainly in my lifetime anyway.
Was Pep's first season 2009?
So I watched there's a documentary on Amazon. This is where this whole fucking discussion come from. It's called Take the Ball, Pass the Ball, and it's based around it's a Barcelona documentary. And it's based around the way that Barcelona play football, and it goes right up until 2006 when Rijkaard took over, and there was a mentality shift. The way they go on, it was a mentality shift, and this type of football was starting to be played. And then Rijkaard got sacked, and Pep come in, and they won 6 trophies in 1 year.
Yeah, they won everything. La Liga, Copa del Rey, Super Cup, Champions Leagues, UEFA Super Cup, FIFA Club World Cup, all in 2009.
They won every competition they were in 2009. But the way if you watch the documentary, it's the way that Pep goes in and he identifies players who he doesn't want. So Ronaldinho, unbelievable, one of the probably up there with the talk of the best players ever, gone out. Samuel Eto'o, phased out. Or like players like that who you think world class players, phased out because the mentality of Johan Cruyff and the way that he instilled Barcelona to play football. Pep then twisted and put his own mentality on it.
And he still does that now to an extent. I mean, Paul no more, but it feels as though he's phasing like Aguero out, who's arguably one of City's all-time legends.
Aguero's not the example for me, it's Yaya Toure. He done the same at Barcelona. Phased Yaya Toure out because Yaya Toure doesn't fit the way he plays.
And then turn it to City.
And then come to City. And if you watch the All or Nothing documentary, Toure doesn't play much. But that Barcelona team, you'd be very hard pressed. I know there's a couple more examples on there, but you'd be very hard pressed to find a better team than that.
I think there's a we all love to call him the baldy fraud and yeah, whatever. It's for me, it's a big massive joke that he's a baldy fraud. But I think with Pep, alright, he's had quite a bit of money. But that first season with Barcelona, he didn't have any money. He bought one player. He bought Gerard Piqué for $3.5 million from Manchester United reserves. That was it. And then everyone else was already there. I think he might have bought Dani Alves that season, to be fair. Yeah. But everyone else was already there. And there was a quiet evolution. I think that the season after brought Zlatan, and he quickly realised Zlatan wasn't a Barcelona player. Because it was with Barcelona, it was always about the team. It was always about, I trust you to play as a team if you trust me to get you to where you need to be. And I don't know if anyone's ever read Graham Hunter's book on Barcelona during that time, but he says one thing he did do, and it was a key change he made, was for home games, the team never slept in a hotel. For home games, they always stayed at home. And it was sort of his way of putting a little bit of faith in his players to act as professionals and to show them a little bit of trust, knowing that he'd get that back on the pitch, and they really did appreciate being able to go home and stay with the families, because at the end of the day, the people. And I think since he's left Barcelona, Pep, I think every team he's gone to, everyone expected them, the 2 teams he's gone to, everyone expected them to just play tiki-taka and will play teams off the park. And it was never going to be that way. He's evolved himself as a coach, and he's evolved his tactics and his outlook of football wherever he's gone. So with Bayern, he was a typically German team. Like, they had that little bit of flair, and the last teams off the park. But even under Pep, they were a typically German, efficient team. He's come to the Premier League, and they're fast. City have always been fast and big and strong. Like probably a typical English team. But again, with that Spanish twist of being able to play teams off the park and going out with a game plan. And I think that's what he started at Barcelona, was they always played in triangles. Before that, no one knew what a bleeding triangle was, or a rondo.
Yeah.
And apparently when he got there, all he did was training rondos. He just did rondos all day, every day. Until you look on the pitch, they're just playing rondos. If you watch them that season and the preceding seasons after, they just play rondos in the game. It's crazy to watch.
Why do you think then, Paul, that he hasn't been able to replicate his European success at City that he did have in Barcelona?
I think you look at the teams who've knocked us out the Champions League under Pep. The first year was Monaco. Now, the first leg, we beat them 5-3 at home. It was a crazy game. I remember Falcao was unbelievable for Monaco that night. Scored one of the best goals I've ever seen. He chipped the keeper. We then went out to you, didn't we? You absolutely blitzed us in that 20-minute period at Anfield. We then went out to Spurs. and then last season we went out to Lyon. I'll take you out. You lost the final that year, didn't you?
Yeah.
Lost to Monaco, Spurs, and Lyon in the knockout games.
The Spurs one's hard though, innit? Because didn't VAR do them over?
Yeah, there was a tight offside at the end, which was slightly offside, but then Llorente with the handball. I honestly don't know the answer. I think at Bayern Munich, I think maybe he's highlighted a couple of games he played. He listened to the players for a game against, it might have been Real Madrid in a knockout game, and he listened to them. They wanted to go gung-ho, and Real Madrid just picked them off on the counter. And he just said he learned something that night, basically not to listen to the players again. I think then one year they had Atletico Madrid. It was a tight game away, and then I think at home, Muller missed a penalty, didn't he? Oblak saved it, I think. They're the tight margins in the Champions League. He won it. What did he win it? 2 times in 4 years at Barca. I agree with Dean and Jay 100% there. That Barcelona team's the greatest team I've ever seen, and it has a proper Catalan core, like he said, lads who come from through the academy. And it was just enjoyable to watch every single week that you could watch them in the Champions League. And they won everything, and they won it the way that you enjoyed watching it. I just think with us, with the Champions League, basically not being good enough. But, and I think the Premier League takes that much out of you as well. It was the last team to win the Premier League and the Champions League in the same season. Was it United?
United,
yeah. 99?
2008.
Years ago.
2008. They won the League, Champions League, Club World Cup and Community Shield.
Right, yeah, sorry, yeah. So that then, so you're looking what was that, 14 years ago, 15 years ago?
Yeah.
It's hard to do. It really is hard to do. I think we've got a good chance this season. A better chance because of our defending as a team. And with the condition that Real Madrid and Barcelona, and I think the two teams for us, Juve are a great Juve team. PSG not looking great. I think it's between ourselves, Bayern, and probably you for the Champions League. If you can get past Red Bull and get a few of your players back, then anything can happen, especially in the Champions League. If where you play in that competition, it's like you saved some of your best ever performances for that competition. Going back to what Dean said about Pep, the fraud, tongue in cheek, quite a few of my mates say it to wind me up. And Jay mentioned it then. He went into Barcelona and he bombed Ronaldinho and Dzeko. He didn't like their attitude. He's like, no, it's my way. I want them gone. And he had a battle to get rid of them. He reluctantly kept Eto, which turned out well for him in the end. He scored the first goal in the Champions League final against United, didn't he? But look, like I said, he revamped that team with like young, hungry players. He got them on side. That little change there about them not staying away from the families before them. A game night. He'd not long retired himself, had he? 8 years before, and he knew what it was for players, how much time they spent away from the families, and just little things like that change. And when he took over City, I've actually got it here in front of me. Again, this team he took over, it wasn't great. We finished on 66 points. That was the lowest total we'd had in 7 years. We were 15 points off the leaders, which I think were Leicester that year. That was the biggest gap in 6 years. We finished fourth, lowest position in 6 years. Lost 10 games that year before he come. That was the most in 7 seasons. And the team that he inherited, it was the third oldest average starting team in the league. And against the top 7 teams that season, we'd only won 1 out of 12. It wasn't like he was taken over when he took over at Bayern Munich, who just won the treble. He took over a team who our 4 fullbacks were Zabaleta, Sanya, Kolarov and Clichy. Every one of them was over 32. It was a team that hadn't been given like the improvements in the right areas when it had needed to. We hung on to players a little bit too long, 2-3 years past the sell-by date. Maybe something that you spoke about before, something that you'll be looking at, maybe needing to change a couple of players yourself this season to keep things fresh. Like Ferguson used to do, he'd always look to bring a couple of players in to keep everyone on their toes and keep improving things. But going back to the best team, I agree with the lads. 100%, that Barcelona team. Some of the Premier League teams we've had, yourselves when you won the Champions League and then the league the following year, us hitting 100 points, Chelsea, Arsenal, Man United, all excellent teams, but that Barcelona team, maybe we're looking at it with a bit more nostalgia because they're foreign and you don't see them every week. You don't see them scrape out that 1-0 win away at Granada or something, where, you maybe see it, an English team scrape a win away at Burnley and think, oh, they're not great. They conceded a couple of chances there, but on their day, they were just unplayable. It'd be interesting to see, that team where you won the league last year at its very best, somehow playing against that Barcelona team at its very best, or us, and to see who'd come out on top. I think if you played each other 10 times, there'd be quite a few draws in there and a couple of wins each way out of all of them, but I would go for the Barcelona team.
I'd be controversial, and I think Pep's greatest achievement is Man City, not Barcelona, because look at what Paul's just said, what he come into at City, and he's made City a dominant force in the Premier League. They've won the league with other managers, but they've been hit and miss every year. They lost 10 games before he came in that season. Like Paul just said, I think coming into City and making City what it is now is his greatest achievement in football.
I think he had some of the materials were there already, and I think some of the players are still there. Aguero, Sterling, Company was there at the time. Obviously,
De Bruyne was there.
Yeah. I think the materials were already there. He just needed to shift out the deadwood, and everyone could see what the deadwood was. I think when he was at Barcelona, no one foresaw that he'd get rid of Ronaldinho. And the reasons he got rid of Ronaldinho was because he was becoming a bad influence. And at that time, being a young manager, I think he was only 38, 39. He'd only been retired a year or two. I think he was playing in Mexico. And then he got the offer to go and work with the B team. At that time, to be such a young manager and to go in and remove probably still one of the best players in the world, a fan favourite, popular in the dressing room, to take that decision, it takes a lot of bollocks, let's face it. But I think going into City, he knew what he had to do, and everyone saw it around him. Sanya had to go, Clichy had to go, Joe Hart had to go. I think that was his biggest one, was getting rid of Joe Hart, because I think there's major English bias for all players, but more so for Joe Hart with him being the English number one.
So it's similar to Pickford's bias now, isn't it, in the media?
I think it's majorly biased with Pickford.
Yeah,
he's dog shit. You never, he should never be England number one as long as he's got a hole in his arse. He's fucking shite. I just don't see it with Pickford whatsoever.
For me, I think that Barcelona team, it's got to be, Annie. It's got to be the best team I've ever seen anyway. The best foreign team I've ever seen.
Yeah, they were playing football no one's ever seen before.
That performance, the 2011 Champions League final, honestly, if you get a chance to watch it, there's a spell from the 55th minute to the 85th minute where I think they have 92% possession and they win the game in that spell, because I think they scored twice.
Do you think Pep, I know Barcelona are a massive brand, but do you think Pep's the reason that Barcelona are modern day so big?
I think Barcelona have always been a big team as long as I've been alive, because
were they that dominant though in previous
every
seasons?
country has its own its big teams.
No, but I mean that season with Pep, like then from what was it? If you put here, 2008, 2011, have they ever been that dominant under other managers?
I don't think there's ever been.
I think there was a period under Cruyff where they won the league, but I think they didn't win the first European Cup till I think Koeman scored for them. I think it was 91.
It was 1992. It was, Paul.
92. Sorry.
Yeah, it was at Wembley.
So yeah, do you think they hadn't really Real Madrid had won however many trophies in the European Cup, Champions League before them. Liverpool had won 4 before that. So domestically, they were one of the main teams. But I think football's changed that much, hasn't it, in the last 20 years with social media, with Asia and America. I think Barcelona have just exploded, as have Real Madrid and all the big Premier League clubs. And I think Messi's one of the biggest things for that, and also the success that they've had. You remember for years they never even had a sponsor. That was their thing. They kept a sponsor off the front. They used to say more than a club. That was their motto. And the first year they had a sponsor, I think it was UNICEF or something, a charity.
I remember that.
And then they obviously, football, they've then got to try and keep up with the money from the Premier League, and that's why they've ended up getting a sponsor. And I think they're gonna, when the new camp gets done up, they're going to sell the naming rights to that as well, which it's sad that football does that, but it's like everything, isn't it? Every patch of a shirt soon will have a sponsorship on it to try and get as much money as that they can. And that's why Barcelona, Real Madrid, Milan, Juventus, they're all desperate for the Super League, because they're guaranteed, TV revenue that'll match the Premier League clubs. But Liverpool, United, City, why would you go in a Super League? You don't need to. Money-wise, you don't need to. With the strongest, most, popular league in the world. I just don't think we'll go off and join the Super League. It just won't happen.
When you've done this,
than
Jay, why is Real Madrid not being included in it? When did they win? Was it 3 or 4 Champions Leagues back to back?
You said this, didn't you?
I did. I pointed this out to you.
Dean texted me and said, "Why is there no Real Madrid team when they won 3 or they won 3 or 4?" I
think it was 4 when they beat us, wasn't it? 4.
3 in a row, and between they won 1, and then Barcelona won it 2015, and they won 3 in a row.
I didn't put them in because for me, to be classed as one of the best team ever, it's got to be elite. It's got to be home and abroad. You've got to dominate at home. So the teams that are on there, you bat like that Barcelona team, 14 trophies in 4 years.
Yeah,
like there's the United team from 2007 to 2011. That like they won 4 league titles in 5 years.
We can say that now, can't we? Because he's left. But Fergie.
Look, I'm not being funny. 4 league titles, a Champions League, a League Cup, FIFA World Cup, 3 Community Shields. That team is, for me, doesn't get spoke about a lot. But they reached 3 Champions League finals in 4 years.
Yeah, I know. You look at really, we're just saying Barcelona, the greatest team that we've seen. They beat them twice in the final. They just come up against a team that, on the day, just too good for them. And I think there was a moment in the game where even how many times would Fergie's team keep going to the last seconds? He just sat on the bench like the Jay said there at Wembley that period. I don't think he got off for 20 minutes, and he just watched the game because he knew it was done. There's nothing he could do.
He said, hasn't he? Like he what you've just said. Then he just said, "I just watched the game." There's nothing you can do when a team is that good and is playing that well. But
I'm glad you brought that game up before, Jay, actually, because that's probably my favourite non-Liverpool game I've ever seen. And it's not because of United got turned over, it was because of how good United were. And to be completely honest, United were the best Europe had to offer against Barcelona that season. There was no one came close to those two teams.
Was that when Ronnie was at them, yeah?
Yeah. He'd left. But even then, that was the best Europe had to offer. That was the best competition Barcelona could come up against. And he just absolutely blew them away. And I've never seen United treated like that, with just such disrespect. Like, they were just absolutely torn limb from limb. Vidic and Ferdinand didn't even know they were fucking coming or going.
Because when you look at that United side, at that time, Liverpool had a really good side. Brilliant.
Was that when we had Torres, Mascherano?
The spine of that team was
brilliant.
It was Reina, Carragher, Skrtel, Daniel Agger.
Oh, I prefer Agger.
Let's go with Agger. Mascherano, Alonso, Gerrard, Torres, Dirk Kuyt. Let's put Kuyt in there.
Kuyt deserves to be in there, big game player.
I think if you're talking strength and depth this season, there was no fucking strength and depth in that team. Because Harold Sainz, it was David and Go. And if we lost, we had Fabio Aurelio, we had legs made of crisps. We had Alvaro Arbeloa, who got nosebleeds when he went above the halfway line. But
he went to Madrid, though, and was a different player.
Yeah, well, I think they just bought him because he was a bargain. I think he was 3.5 million and he needed to fill a Champions League homegrown quota or something, because he started at Real Madrid, didn't he? And we went out and bought Glenn Johnson. And I think, honestly, if we'd have had Glenn Johnson the season before, that would have been a massive difference for us, because we had a little bit of width.
Is that the year when we drew 9 or 10 games?
Yeah.
We lost twice. The draws cost us. But coming up against that United side, I think that Liverpool team, in any other era, any other spell, wins the league. But they come up against that unbelievable Man United side, who again, just like three Champions League finals in 4 years. To only be beaten by Pep's Barcelona. As much as we fucking hate them, that's like...
I think you're making off there. Push the wire in. Go on.
What I was saying.
3 Champions League finals.
3 Champions League finals.
To get to 3 Champions League finals in 4 years and to only be beaten by Pep's Barca, that's some going in it, as much as we hate them.
Well, we could do that. If we get there this year, we've got to 3 and 4 years and maybe only being beat by Zidane's thing, which moves me on to Liverpool. Should we be spoken about in that, considering we've only won? We've won the Champions League, Super Cup, Club World Cup and Premier League. But when you think about where Klopp's taken us from, should we be spoken about in one of the greatest sides ever?
Let Paul speak about that, because
we're clearly biased, aren't we?
Go on, what do you think, Paul?
I think the Liverpool team of the last 2 years, so we're looking 19-20 when you won the league, and 18-19 when you won the Champions League and finished second. I think that's the best Liverpool team I've ever seen. Obviously, people before me will say team, the team of the 80s and the 70s or whatever, but it's the best Liverpool team in the Premier League era by a mile. And like I said to you before, if you to put the team on paper at its peak against Barcelona when they won their finals, if they play each other like on a FIFA and the levels were, realistic, it'd be nothing in the game. They really wouldn't. I think we've been very fortunate the last 3 years as a fan of City and you boys fans of Liverpool, that the football that you've watched. I remember at one point, I think Pep 100-point year, now sitting there like in a way getting depressed, thinking it's never going to get better than this ever. And but obviously, things change, and you still play good football. But imagine being a Barcelona fan, looking back to nostalgia, that the amount of trophies that they won and what they're going through now. But they'll come back strong eventually, Barcelona. But going back to Liverpool, then it was an unbelievable team that you knew what the team was going to be. Pretty much every single week, it'd be like you've just read the Barcelona team there before. I bet that was the team that played like 90% of the games. Your Liverpool team: Alisson, Trent, Matip or Gomez with Van Dijk, Robertson left back, Fabinho, Wijnaldum, Henderson, and then the front three. You knew what it was every single week, and you knew what you were going to get with them. Salah was the captain of your fancy team every single week because you just knew he's going on the pitch and scoring. It's up there. That Liverpool team from last year is definitely up there in the conversation for the best ever Premier League team. People are going about Arsenal being the Invincibles, and it was a great team, but I think your team from last year slaps them. I think we would slap them as well from the time before, and that's not meaning to be disrespectful to Arsenal. I think the level the last few years has just been raised. I think the best Premier League teams of all time is yours from last season. Ours over those 2 years, probably Fergie's as well. One of Fergie's teams. Just you'll look back on this Liverpool team in 10, 15 years, and it'll go down as one of the greatest all-time Liverpool teams. But I have no doubt about that. And also in the history of football, it'll be talking of on podcasts in Germany, Spain, Italy. They'll be talking about it. Kids will be growing up with memories of it. As that Barcelona game where you won the Champions League game where Trent took that quick corner. Again, that was just it was incredible to watch. Just the game, it was just. I think Barcelona you were playing. You weren't playing Monaco. Or
we were playing
Leon
a full
or
strength Barcelona as well with Divock Origi.
We were playing a Barcelona side that beaten us 3-0 2 weeks previous.
Yeah.
Could have been 4 as well with Dembele when he went through it then and messed up, didn't he? Remember? And you've gone and just absolutely turned him over 4-0. I think if Dembele had scored that night to make it 4-0, I still think you'd have beaten them 5-0 at home. I think it was just between your teeth there. It was just nothing stopping us. Even who was injured that night out your front three?
Salah.
Firmino and Salah.
And Firmino and
So it was Mane, Shaqiri and Firmino or front, Origi.
Yeah.
Unbelievable that one. It really, when you look back and think now what happened that night, there's no way you should have got through. All common sense says you're 3-0 down from the first leg. I don't know 3-0 flat at Barcelona, to be honest. When you look back,
the first leg, it definitely did, from what I remember. I don't think.
Yeah, we battered them. But it was like when Messi scoring 45-yard free kicks.
He put that free kick in, didn't he? And common sense says, you've just been beaten 3-0. Barcelona are coming. You've got 2 of your best players out. Did Wijnaldum even start on the bench that day? Yeah, and he come on and made a big difference. And who was your midfield three being then?
It was the Brexit one.
Henderson, Fabinho, and Milner.
Yeah, and we had to, I think Robertson went off at half time, didn't he? Had to move Milner to left back.
Yeah. And Milner climbed a bit.
Milner just collapsed at full time. You remember, he was over in the corner holding the ball up and just hit the deck. He'd put a shift in. I think that game was just pure force of will.
Do you think if you would have got the final that year, Paul, you would have beat us?
On your performance in the final, yeah. But I don't know if that's because you scored early and you just controlled the game.
If you remember correctly, though, Paul, there was 3 weeks between the end of the season and the final being played.
Yeah.
And I think Spurs went into it a little bit rusty as well. It was a very slow game.
Well, Kane was struggling, wasn't he? Kane was touch and go. I don't think Kane had played the semi-finals against Ajax, and I don't think he played the quarters against us. It was Son who caused us the trouble.
He gets injured in the first leg. doesn't he? Goes off first 10 minutes in the first leg.
Yeah, so again, it would have been an unbelievable final. The fact that we just gone for the league. I don't know if we'd have beaten Tottenham, I don't know whether we'd have won the league, because we'd have then had 2 more games with Ajax in the Champions League, and as good as we were, we won 1-0 against Spurs in that run, and Foden scored the diving header. We went and won 1-0 against Burnley, Aguero just over the line, and then Company's goal as well against Leicester. So
that won you the league, that goal, didn't it?
It's unbelievable. So you just think if we'd have got to that Champions League final, you just don't know. We might not have been able to maintain, our league form, but I wouldn't have swapped it. I'd rather have won the league than the Champions League.
No, sorry, Paul. I agree with Paul. I don't think they will win the league, because I think we were putting so much pressure on them, and I think that's why last season they broke. I think we just broke them mentally. They just couldn't. They couldn't keep up with it. And I think it all started at the end of 17-18. I think all season went right to the last day. I don't think Pep expected us to get 98 points. Was it we got 97, didn't we, that season? They got 98.
Yeah.
I'm right, yeah. And then last season we got 99. I think we just broke City mentally last season.
I think last season, I just said, I think it was a perfect storm for you. You'd won the Champions League. So that was like, a big, obviously a massive trophy. It gave like your likes of Henderson. Was that the first trophy he's won?
Apart from the League
a
Cup,
lot of other players like Robertson, Trent, obviously Van Dijk had won stuff in Scotland. It just gave them that belief, and like the perfect storm. You started the season well. I think we both won convincingly. Who did you play first game? Was it Norwich?
Norwich, yeah. Beat them 4-1.
We went to West Ham and smashed them, and I thought it's going to be exactly the same as last season. We then played Spurs at home, and we were unbelievable. We drew 2-2.
The same thing happened, didn't it?
It was what, mate?
The same thing happened in the this was the Champions League. You scored last minute, didn't you? And it got ruled out.
Well, the corner come in, and Eric Dyer and Laporte both went for the header, and the ball came off both arms. So no one's really got. But then it was the rule of if it touches someone's hand in the build to a goal, it's disallowed no matter what. Even though it wouldn't have been a penalty given against Dyer, the goal was given disallowed because it hit Laporte's hand, and then it went through to Jesus and scored. And then from then on, you never look back. You just smashing teams for fun. Like I mentioned before, that goal with Wijnaldum against Sheffield United, little things like that were going for you. And another thing as well, like a twist of fate, we started the season with 3 centre-halves. Company had announced he was leaving after the cup final in May. So then we had a deal lined up for Chilwell at left-back. And we then had to focus all our attention on the centre-half, and then it all went on to Harry Maguire then. And we wouldn't pay the money that United would. Otamendi was going. And we had to change our plan. So we started the season with Laporte, Otamendi, Stones, and like you, 3 senior centre-halves, with Fabinho to be your 4th choice, and Fernandinho was going to be our 4th choice. And, okay, we didn't get, like, injuries that you've had, but Laporte was obviously out for the season. Otamendi's head was already out the door, and he wasn't the best, when his head was on it. And John Stones was hardly available, and you just kicked on and kicked on and kicked on, and we couldn't keep up with you. And like I said, you sort of made the same mistake we did this season. You started the season with 3 senior centre-halves. You'd sold Lovren. You had Matip there in the 3, who, I don't know what his record was like last season. He's whether he was, always think, 10 games, he's probably going to be unavailable for 5. So you're looking then at hoping that Gomez and Van Dijk, and obviously horrific injuries that you don't want anyone to receive. The both players received them, and it's massively bit you on the arse this season. But I do think that's a bit of neglect on behalf of your transfer selections, that you've gone into the season with 2 centre halves you can rely on and Matip. And this season, I think we learned our lesson. We thought, where are the gaps in the squad? Let's just and again, Staines things at the start of the season. Said to me at the start of the season what our centre half partnership would have been in August, but obviously the transfer rumours. I thought it was going to be Koulibaly and Laporte. We were all in for Koulibaly, and we couldn't agree a fee. Then we were after Koundé at Seville. I don't know if you've seen him, a French lad. He was a good centre half. Diaz come from nowhere. We only got Diaz because Benfica got knocked out the Champions League in the qualifying stage, and then Stones was going. It was just that Garcia said he wouldn't sign a new contract, and it's just strange that 2 players now have formed the bedrock of this team, Stones and Diaz, and they've both been incredible as the way your centre halves were for you last season. So I can't even remember what my original point was, but it's just strange how it can work out sometimes. That said, 2 centre halves there who Stones wouldn't have been in any City team selection at the start of the season, and I guarantee probably half of us didn't even know who Diaz was, which is a bit lucky for us how it's worked out.
Before we go, I want to speak to you about out of these teams, one of the common factors, Klopp and Pep. Who's the better manager? Now, I'm biased in a sense of I think Klopp's the better manager because I don't think Pep could go into teams like Dortmund and Liverpool who were sleeping giants and turn them around. I think Pep needs to go to teams that have, although he's made City better, he's made Barca better, he's made Bayern better, they already had the foundations where Klopp didn't. So I'll start with you, Jay. Who's the better manager? Because we've had this discussion before, so I feel like I know what you're going to say. But I think about it in the sense of what Klopp's done at Dortmund, what Klopp's done at Mainz, and what Klopp's done at Liverpool, and what players he had when he came in, and then think about that before you make a decision.
It's mad the way you just tried to influence me then, innit? And say fuck all about Pep. No, my opinion is always based on two different things. It might be because you might be the same, Paul might be the same, because we do teams and we're involved in footy, so we see the two sides of it. The side of coaching and short-term success.
Yeah.
Which everybody wants short-term success. You're a fucking liar if you say you don't. It's got to be Pep. Pep is an unbelievable coach. The way to justify your arguments about Pep is always go back to that first season at Barcelona of a team who were beaten 4-0. And when I say beaten, I mean slapped. Like at home to Real Madrid or away to Real Madrid. They slapped them. Madrid pissed the league. To then go in the short space of time of 6 weeks, 8-week pre-season and win 6 trophies. I think short-term wise, it's Pep all day. And you look at your Bayern Munich, he continued that dominance in Germany, and yeah, he didn't win the Champions League, but domestically, he pissed it. And then you look at the way he's done it at City. Granted, first season didn't win nothing. Second season, pissed the league, 100 points. Third season, it was us who pushed them. Otherwise, if we weren't there and we were, still building, they piss it again with 99 points. And it looks like they're going to do it again this season. Consistent short-term success is for me is Pep. But then on the other side of it, you look at the man management way and you look at the relationships that Klopp has with his players. And for me, every Liverpool player would do anything. If Klopp asked them to jump off Runcorn Bridge and swim into the Irish Sea, sound will do it. I don't think you get that with Pep because it's just some of the stories. You look at the thing about Etu, you look at the thing about Yaya. For me, Claudio Bravo, the way he treated him was something. But long term in the project, it's Klopp. You look at Mainz, done really well at Mainz, took them up. Dortmund, I think they'd finished 12th, 14th when they give them the job.
They were going into administration.
Yeah, they were going out of business. Won the league, consecutive Champions League final. Yeah, they didn't end well. They had that season where they were in a relegation battle. And then he comes to us.
Would you not say Klopp makes players better then, when you look at the players who Klopp's...
I think Klopp makes clubs better.
Not individual players.
To make a club better, you've got to make your individual players better. The argument, it's a fucking brilliant argument. And I don't think you can sit there and say he's a better manager than him and he's a better manager than him, because there's all different ways of looking at it. If it's trophies, it's Pep. If it's consistency and, a style of play and overall club, the way a club works and the way a club rises through from almost going out of business and shite, mediocre, to winning leagues, it's Klopp. There's always two ways of looking at it for me, and it's hard. It's like saying who's better in the prime, Pep or Mourinho. Again, I don't think there's never a clear answer for me.
What about you, Dean?
Jay just wound up the argument for me there, just saying I can't answer. For me, I agree with the short-term success, because it keeps you in a job. Short-term success.
Yeah.
So, I agree. I think at Barcelona, Pep was in a position Klopp has been into every club he's been into, though. And I think since Barcelona, going into City and going into Bayern, Pep was allowed a lot of time to put his stamp on things, although he didn't really need it, because the quality was already there. At Bayern, the quality was already there. At City, the quality was already there. Whereas for Klopp, I think he went to Dortmund because he did well at Mainz, but his barometer of success wasn't trophies, because he was never going to win for all at Mainz. They were lucky to be in the division. He got them there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's proven it on different levels, Klopp, and I think to do it on a shoestring as well, to do it with nothing at Mainz, to do it with nothing at Dortmund, shows the acumen he's got, not just as a coach, but as a manager as well, to improve those players. But then he's taken players like Robert Lewandowski, he signed for $3.5 million. And alright, he went for free, but what is Robert Lewandowski now? Partly down to Jurgen Klopp. Probably the best centre forward in the world.
He still calls all his players, doesn't he? My players.
Yeah, exactly, because they wear all his players. Yeah, Mario Götze. He took Mario Götze from the academy. Götze. Are you taking the piss out of my German?
Götze.
Tory. He took Götze out of the academy and he sold him for 37.5 million, and then a couple of years later brought him back for free. So I think, and to do what he did with Dortmund, I mean, Dortmund, as I said, they were in administration when he took over. He took them to 2 league titles on the bounce and a Champions League final.
And now arguably they're still one of the biggest sides in Germany.
Yeah, they're the only side in Germany
Challenge
credible to challenge Bayern every year, and that's from Klopp. That's from nobody else. That's all come from Klopp. The blueprint that, and you could say the similar, to be fair, because the blueprint that Guardiola put in place at Barcelona, Klopp did at Dortmund. And Dortmund, I wouldn't say they were nothing before Klopp, because they had the Champions League under the belt themselves, and Matthias Sammer was a really good manager for them in the early 2000s. But before Klopp, they were only going one way, and it was backwards.
Yeah.
And I think since Klopp, they've turned things around massively. They're one of the most successful clubs in Germany, financially and commercially. They're probably the second name everyone looks for in the Bundesliga, and that's only because Bayern have pissed it every season for the past 10 years. And I think it took Klopp to get to Liverpool to be able to get that time. And he hasn't, I think with Klopp, he hasn't just managed the team, he managed a very, very tricky situation, because when Rodgers left, it was going sort of back to
how it was
pre-Hodgson in a way.
Yeah.
Probably the end. When Rodgers left, it was very similar to the way when Benitez left. Fans were starting to splinter off, and it was starting to get a little bit antsy, and there was different types of fans wanted different things, and I think Klopp come in and just brought the whole club back together. The best season I seen pre-Klopp was the season Rodgers took us to the brink of the league, and everyone was pushing in the right direction. There was no talk about what was going on off the field. There was no talk about players. There was no talk about what he's doing in his personal life. He's got a new contract. We're after him in the summer. He wants to fuck off in the summer. Not even, we all knew Suarez was going to go, but no one spoke about it in that period. And for me, that little 6 month, I think it was like 3 or 4 months really, that little 3 month gap was a lovely little golden period for me as a Liverpool fan. And I think Klopp brought that back and extended it over 4 years. Like, we've got that 4 year period back where no one wants to leave. There's no ructions from the owners. There's no infighting. There's no fans fucking wanting to get the owners out. And for the past 4 years, it's just been so nice to be a Liverpool fan. And there's no one else to thank for that but Jurgen Klopp.
I agree with you. Completely agree with you. What about you, Paul? Pep or Klopp?
The table's a bit loaded against me, really, isn't it? I don't want to be disrespectful to Klopp, because I think he's the perfect manager for you. I think the biggest compliment I can pay him is if Pep had never come to City, I would have loved to have been our manager. I think he would have been brilliant for us. But for me, it's Pep. I think we spoke about his team before at Barca. People say, "Oh, he's only done it. He can only do it at the big clubs." Barca before that, they hadn't won the Champions League that year. They were on the way down. Discipline was down. He improved things. He goes and he gets players buying into it. Yeah, he falls out with players, but every manager falls out with players. In his first season at Barca B, he turned things around from there. He then promoted, like you said, Pedro, Busquets, built the team around Messi. Yeah, look at the running Messi did for him. Messi was just, he obviously didn't have the stature that he's got now at the time, but he had like Messi just pressing everything. You know, Henry was like one of the best Premier League players of all time. He signed for Barca and he said to Henry, "You're going to play on the left." And Henry followed that. You listen now to what Henry loves him. Henry just can't speak highly enough of him. He said to him, go and play on the left. He took Henry off in a game. They were winning that. Henry was doing well because he wasn't following instructions. Henry never made that mistake again. He followed his instructions again. He went to Bayern. Okay, Bayern had just won the treble and obviously in a massive position of strength. Then you look at like players like Philip Lahm. How great was Philip Lahm as a right back, and then he bangs him in centre mid, and it's like Philip Lahm's like, what's going on here? And he becomes one of the best players there for doing that. And then again, like I said, I don't really know a great deal about his time at Bayern as much to do with Barca, but he won the league 3 years on the run. I think he won the cup twice out of those 3 years, maybe, and semi-finals in the Champions League. So his time at City, again, he's raised the level in the Prem. Took us to 100 points. Us two pushed each other the following year. I think I think City. I think if Pep was at Liverpool or Man United, he'd get a lot more praise in the media than what he does do at City. We won the FA Cup a few years ago against Watford, and the first question, it wasn't like, fantastic, well done, Pep. It was something like, are you getting paid? You're getting paid into a secret account the way, Roberto Mancini got paid, or something disrespectful like that. I just don't think he's going to get the credit that he deserves from the neutral. Said if he was at Liverpool, Man United, he would get a lot more praise from the written media. But that doesn't bother me at all. I think he's the best manager of all time. You look at him now, this is what his fifth year at City. He did 4 at Barca. He only wanted to do 3 at Barca. He wanted to go out, and he got persuaded to stay for the 4th, and he was knackered. He was burnt out. The constant battles with Madrid and Mourinho from that first season when Mourinho was there, and he just had enough. He wanted to go. At Bayern, he said he won everything there that he could bar the Champions League. And then again, with City now, no one expected him to come to City. His book, in Balaguer's book, it spoke about Mourinho Guardiola was talking about going to Man United. If he's going to come to England, he's going to Man United. And if one of my mates used to say that, he said he's not coming to, he's going to go to Man United. It's said in a book. But the time that he spoke about Man United were under Fergie then, absolutely flying. City we weren't on the radar. We were a mid to bottom table Premier League team then. So why would he have come to us? And he's just, the whole club's geared up to him. The director of football is his best mate. Soriano, again, is a friend of his from Barcelona. The whole club's geared up for him. And he's just signed a longer contract than no one expected him to. And I think he's just happy where he is. And I think we're fortunate that we've got two managers. The 2 best coaches, in my opinion, in the world at the moment. And they're probably...
He was right in what he was saying anyway. We are very fortunate that we've got 2 of the best managers. I think one point Paul did make about it was all set up for Pep at City to have, because he brought in Cheeky and he brought in Ferran and everything was set up there for Pep to walk into. I think they've been plotting that for a while, because I think they were there for a good couple of years, weren't they, first, Paul?
Yeah, they wanted him when I can't believe you pulled the plug on me there, lads. When
Hey, you froze.
Tipping the scales back.
It was the first time you were going all in about how good Jurgen Klopp was. We wouldn't pull the plug on you there.
I was just saying anyway about how great they both were. But no, you're right there by saying the club being geared up for a few years. We did want him before he went to Bayern, and also United wanted him. Fergie made a big pitch to him in New York to go there when he was on a sabbatical. The club, it's geared up to him. It's his club. He does stuff. Like the Bernardo thing the other year, when he got accused of racism with that picture of Mendy. And to be fair, Pep probably made it worse than what it was with his defence and going on about it. And he brought it up recently.
I've seen that.
Someone in the club maybe just said to him,
he said that Bernardo didn't react well to the ban or the fine or whatever he got, didn't he?
Yeah. He said we got accused of being a racist, and he's not a racist, and he just brought that up again. Whereas I think some clubs, the media officer would have just said, let's move away from that. But he's got free reign. The whole club's built for him at the moment. Everything through to the academy. We've got like Spanish coaches taking the youth teams at under 19, under 18 level, and the whole club is geared to the way Barcelona was. But so they've moved away from it a little bit now, and it's just all about him. So for me, out of the two, Pep, that's being loyal, but I said I wouldn't mind if Pep had never took over and Klopp had took over us. I think he would have done well for us. And I said that's the highest compliment I can pay him. I would, as a player, I would have liked to play for Klopp the way he is, but Pep's still number one for me.
Before we go then, I'm going to get some score predictions off you. So we'll leave team predictions. You said it's too hard. Gives a score prediction for the arguably the two greatest managers of the modern day going up against each other. Two of the best teams ever in the Premier League. What's the score, Jay?
I want to go in and be really positive and really confident. Personally, I'd take a draw. And a 1-1 or 2-2. It all depends how Liverpool come out in the first 10 minutes. If Liverpool come out in the first 10 minutes and play like they did against Brighton yesterday, Liverpool will get slapped. If they come out and play the way they did against Tottenham, it'll be a really good game. I think it'll be a really tight game. I'm going to say 1-1.
I'm surprised with you on that. Surprised, very, very surprised, because I think we'll batter them. I think it'll be similar to previous seasons where, like that Champions League game, nobody expected Liverpool to come out and batter City the way we did that year. Everyone's wrote Liverpool off in this game on Sunday. Everyone.
I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, I hope you're wrong as well. But in that year, no one expected Liverpool to come out and batter City, and I think this weekend nobody's going to expect us to come out and even get a win. And I think we're just going to turn up and batter them. I reckon about 3-1. What do you reckon, Dean?
I don't know. I think there's it's one of them. It's either going to be loads of goals or 0-0. I think if anyone's going to win, I do think it'll be Liverpool. I think these are the games where Liverpool turn up. We don't take teams like City lightly, and City play in a way that is perfectly suited to Liverpool. And I agree with what Paul said earlier. To be fair, I don't think Pep's going to turn up and defend. I think Pep's going to turn up and try and control the game. And he has done every time we played them, and I don't see Sunday being any different. So I agree with you. I think it's going to be quite a high-scoring game. I think we'll win. I think we'll blitz them early on, but I think they'll start coming into it again quite late on, and they'll probably get 2 late goals. I think it's going to be 3-2.
What about you, Paul?
3-2 to who was that? Was that the City?
No, yeah.
I'm going 2-0 City. I think we're gonna surprise you. I don't know how much you've seen of us this season. We are solid. I think when you like you played yourself or whatever, and I was always a defender. And if you go into a game and you might have kept a clean sheet the week before, and then you and your centre-half partnership and the keeper are going clean sheet again, and the forwards aren't asked about that. But then I think once you get to like having kept 5-6 clean sheets on the spin, the forwards are buying into it then. And the whole team, it's not then just Stones and Diaz and Ederson wanting a clean sheet. It's the whole team as well. I think I'm going to go 2-0 City. I think we'll score off a corner as well. And I think we'll control the game. I think we really will. I think we'll control and set the pace and set the tempo. I just hope there's no stupid VAR, no silly red card, anything like that. I'm just looking forward to a good game. It's nice to go there with a bit of pressure off, and not won there since Anelka scored in 2003, was it?
Yeah, it's 18 years now.
How long down to Stanfield?
And we've been to the League Cup games, Champions League games, and like midweek games under the lights, and there's no fans there. You're not on a good run. We're looking strong. It's time for us to get this monkey off our back and beat you. And I think if we can beat you, it then sets us up in the future for going there to something, just to get rid of it. Then just think, we can go there without any fear. So I'm going 2-0. If we beat you 2-0, I think you're dead. Don't think you're getting anything. And I think that the league's gone for you. If we beat you 2-0, I think if you win, it'll be a shot in the arm for you. It'll claw you back a little bit, but I don't think it'll be too damaging for us. I think we've got a good mindset. But I'm looking forward to it. Should be a good game. I haven't got a clue what our team will be. And I haven't got a clue what yours will be either.
I don't think he's going to get a corner because I don't think nobody understands just how good Ozan Kabak is in the air. He doesn't. Honest to God, when you come off this, go and have a look how many duels he's lost.
Stop fucking jinxing us.
I swear to you, Jay.
I'm telling you now, if Bernardo Silva wins a header in the box and fucking scores, I'm going to throw something at you.
Is that why you're not giving a true score prediction and you're going with 1-1?
No, I'm just not.
Honest to God, go and look at that. Like, people think that he's bad because he's come from Schalke, but go and look at his stats. He doesn't get beat in the air.
Well, who's your key man going to be on Sunday?
Henderson.
I think Henderson. I think for Henderson, but I think if we play them two defenders, I think Fabinho will be key going back in the 6. I think you'll see a different light of Liverpool to what we've seen all season. But if Fabinho's playing centre back, Henderson.
Yeah.
I think Henderson. It hangs on when Henderson plays centre half or defensive mid. I think he definitely plays. And I think if Fabinho's fit, he'll obviously play.
And Jota could be on the bench as well.
I can't see Jota being there. I can't see Jota being back. I think even if he did, he won't play.
I think the build-up for the Tottenham game in November, December, when they were saying it's either these two who are going to win the title, I think that's true more for this game. I still think, I don't think we will win the league, but I don't think...
It's over, yeah.
No, not that I don't think it's over. I just don't think United are going to be that much of a viable.
So do you think we're more likely to challenge City than United?
Yeah, but I still don't think.
Yeah, but I don't think it's going to be a challenge. I think it's more.
We'll just be closer.
We'll be closer to City. Than
United got to start playing Thursday, Sunday. That won't help. I mean, they might not. They might go out there straight away to play.
I think the break in European football has benefited them.
Yeah,
I think it could potentially have benefited City. It's fucking don't know what it's done to us. It's hindered us.
It's hardly been a break though, hasn't it? We're still playing Tuesday, Saturday, Wednesday, so it's hardly been a break.
Yeah.
I think it's benefited us in the fact that we're now playing teams like Burnley midweek, and they've just played the weekend before. Normally you go to Burnley or Palace, and they've had a free week, and you've travelled to Germany on a Wednesday night or something like that, and you come back at a bit more of a leveler. But I think we found since November started, teams like Southampton, Everton, Villa, when they're having to play Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday, the squads aren't big enough and they're not conditioned to do it the way like us, yourselves, United have been. And I think that's why we've both, the gap opened up now between, how clustered was it? We were 8th, 9th at one point, and once the teams started to play two games a week, they couldn't hack it. They really couldn't. And I think that we've had a good run of games where we've played teams like that who've played 2 games a week, and you just can't do it. You can't hack it. And that's why I think we've got ourselves in a great position now, and we're in front. We've got our nose in front, and Sunday's massive. It really is. We can put a nail in your coffin.
I think even if we win, you'll still win the league with your games in hand. And I don't think the league's possible for Liverpool now. I
agree with Paul as well. I just think they're a different animal this season. They're much improved than any other season. You have to say they're a better all-round side than the team that won the league by 100 points. I think part of that season was everyone was so far below them. Yeah. And I think the past 2 seasons we've sort of caught up. But it just proves this football's cyclical. And our cycle, I think, even in the long term, is coming to an end. And I think that City are a much better all-round side than we've probably ever seen, to be honest.
It's a good way to end it. Nice one to Jay, Dean and Paul for all coming on. Hopefully Paul's wrong and we're right on the weekend.
Hopefully I can text Paul and be like, ha!
Well, lads, thanks for having me on. Hopefully it's a good game on Sunday. Good luck. And hopefully we might meet each other in the Champions League this season. And
I'd rather not.
Do another game.
I'd rather not. Nice one.
See you later, boys. Thank you. Bye.